What's quacking, guys? It's Duck Chris, and it's time for a review of While Guthix Sleeps, while I kill some TDs. While Guthix Sleeps is an update that has been talked about for a while because it's a bit of a nostalgia bomb. It's one of the first quests that people remember like as a huge deal. I think it might have been the first Grandmaster quest in RS2, and people remember it as like this super huge time that was awesome. So we got to bring it back, right? The lead up to this quest in old school was pretty interesting because, as for something that people already know the plot of, it could be like exciting or not exciting. In this case, like for a lot of us, I think it was exciting because it was like, oh, we can see what's happening, um, and that was like fun and kind of enticing. And they did it in a bit of a different way. So, for example, like some of the stuff that we saw in old school, like Temple of the Eye and Desert Treasure 2, wasn't part of the While Guthix Sleeps lead up in RS2, but it was here. So Temple of the Eye being like, oh, here's a quest about like, the Stone of Jas, and we get a little bit more backstory on it beforehand, and your character seems to like know more about it, and it doesn't just come out of nowhere, which is something that happened in the RS3 version, where they had like never talked about anything like this before, except for like I think the like deep lore hounds on the forums who are like, I read it in a book or something. But I think the rollout was done better in this RuneScape, which made it very exciting when it was coming out. The actual quest itself, once it happened, was bad. I'm not gonna lie. The puzzles, because this is mostly a puzzle quest, the puzzles were confusing and really not logical. I said like 10 times it felt like a quest that was made for people with quest helper, which is never what you want, because if you need quest helper to tell you where to go next, then it means the game is not doing a good enough job of hinting to you where you're supposed to go. And I have just a few examples here. One second. Popped. Let's start with the rune puzzle. So when you enter Movario's base, like you have this rune puzzle where you're supposed to like determine that there's a rune that you have to put in this door to like let you through, based on like one of the letters slightly being looking like a rune. But there's no like slot on the door, or at least it doesn't tell you that there is. Maybe if you look close, but like, listen, OSRS is not a game that's like thriving on its graphical integrity. Like we're not supposed to get clues just from the graphics. So I think like ultimately that should have had some kind of message to be like, oh, there's a little slot on it, or oh, it's waiting to accept some magic or something yet. Like plenty of other quests have things like that, and it just helps to let you know like exactly the right direction to go in. And oh yeah, I should have said this at the start, but if you are the kind of person who got every puzzle right with no help, and you just think I'm stupid, then please comment down below, and we can fight about it. So the bookshelf puzzles next. Like once you get through that door, you're in this area with these bookshelves, and they're like electrified somehow to the door, and there's all these levers. This puzzle doesn't make any sense. Like you literally just toggle shit on the bookshelves until it works. And I'm convinced that's what literally everyone did. Like, oh, if I hit this, it goes over there. If I hit this, it goes over there. But there's no like algorithm that makes sense. Like maybe there is to the mods, but it wasn't like that in game. It just, you trip over the solution somehow, and you're like, okay, on to the next room. Bad. It's a bad puzzle. Then you get up to the next room. Then you just take 20 damage because like, oh no, you click the stairs and then you take 20 damage instead of searching the stairs. Like, wow, okay, great. Doesn't really matter. Like there's quests have plenty of that sort of thing, so that's fine. The next room, you do this weight puzzle, where like you have to match your weight to what's on the scale. So I have two problems with this. Number one is that you're not supposed to do this puzzle until you like discover the upstairs room with part 2 of the notes, and there's no way to know that. Like the painting is like very clearly a secret door. You can even see beyond it, like, as soon as you enter the door. And, like, maybe that's, like, left over from when everyone was playing fixed and you couldn't see beyond. But I'm sure you could. Like, it was just, like, way too obvious. And so, like, the obvious thing for you to do is start the weight puzzle as soon as you come in the room. But you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to get the notes first. And if you finish the weight puzzle before getting the notes, it's like, don't you want to keep looking around? So that's stupid. Like, clearly they should just, like, rearrange the room so that you have to find the notes first and then do the weight puzzle. Second of all, the weight puzzle, like, isn't very clear at all. Like, the dial is just telling you, like, how many times you've got it wrong. Like, great, okay. And my main problem with it was a problem that was exclusive to me, and that's that when I entered the room, I was at 25 kilograms, and the pressure dial said 25 kilograms, or, 25 whatever pressure units that was equal to 25 kilograms. So I was like, okay, so what do I have to do? Turns out nothing. Turns out you just have to match it, but it was already matched when I came in. So I thought that wouldn't work, because I was like, okay, it's already matched, so I have to change it somehow. So I don't know what to change it to. And I tried for a long time, and I was like, no, you just had to literally do nothing and click on the door. So that they should just re-roll the number that you have to get if the first number happens to be the same as your weight entering, because otherwise how are you supposed to know what to do? Like, it wouldn't make sense to just click it. These are noted now. Okay, so the next puzzle after that, and then once you get the notes and you read them, that's, like, not enough. You can't just read them. You have to also, like, take them with you, which doesn't make sense, because every other quest item, like, once you read the information, you're like, oh, your character, like, realized what happened. Then you read it, and you know what happened, and you just go back and tell people about it. But for some reason, instead of telling people you have to bring the notes with you, like, we're past that. That should have been recoded. And I understand that, like, parts of this quest were not redone because, like, they felt like it wasn't necessary to redo it and they could just port it back from the old quest. But, like, let's be honest, I'm going to judge it how it is, not based on, a half-baked update. If you release it, it should be good enough as a major update. 76, let's go. Okay. Next up, the Black Knight's Fortress. So you're going into the Black Knight's Fortress, and there's, like, a little trapdoor, and for some reason it's like, there's, like, a slot for an orb, and you're like, you're looking around, you're like, there's no way I need to use a fucking unpowered orb for no reason to open this door. Turns out, actually, yes, you do. And yes, it is for no reason, because an uncharged orb spell is not a door opening spell. Okay, I don't know. I don't care that they used it in whatever that quest is, Legends Quest. Like, Legends Quest is from Classic, okay? It's like the most janky quest of all time. We should not be opening doors by charging an unpowered orb. That spell is made to be used at an obelisk to charge an orb, not to open a door. And every other time that they've used it, it's just a complete waste of time. Like, make me telegrab it or something. Like, come on. Like, be more creative than that. It's just another thing that screams, like, Quest Guide Andy, because how would I know to do that? It has nothing to do with doors. Later on, you have to, like, use some items that you find to get this guy to jail, and, like, the items are one-time items and don't respawn. I don't know why that's the case. Like, we should be able to, if there's a lobster that I find on the desk or in the desk, like, and I leave and I come back, make it respawn, give me another lobster. Like, maybe that would help with the damage I'm taking, and also if I eat it, then I can just grab another one. It's not like the economy's going to collapse because someone's going to sit in this quest instance, and pick up lobsters. And even if it's not an instance, like, it just make it not respawn after the quest is over or something. Like, who knows? The same with, like, there's a death rune and a law rune that you need to use for some reason, which, like, makes no sense. Like, you didn't need to do that. It just punishes you if you happen to, like, drop those runes or bank them or something. Basically, like, there's a whole aspect of the quest that's just punishment, and I don't see why that's necessary. Like, we're not You know, a quest doesn't need to be punishing for it to be challenging. It just needs to be, you know, challenging. Knowing that you need something that you ate like 2 minutes ago and then having to go to the bank and come back, that doesn't make it a challenging quest. It just makes it freaking annoying. So they should make the lobster respawn. They should make the runes respawn. Then you get to the cave section. And the cave section I thought was actually really good, and it fixed a lot of these issues. So it's very unpunishing. First of all, there's a stamina pool. And the stamina pool, like, allows you to run around this huge cavern without bringing a ton of stamina pots, which is good because guess what? You need your inventory space down here because you're making this potion thing. The potion thing is, like, relatively reasonable. There's, like, a big sign. It says exactly what it is. And then once you are able to figure out the druid thing, which, like, hey, it's not that much of a shock to, like, be using druid pouches on some, like, ghastly appearances, because that's what they're for. Then you realize, okay, I'm getting potion ingredients, and there's a bowl so that you can put them in the bowl, and that makes sense as well. And then, of course, there's the vines, and you can bloom with the sickle, which they give to you. So basically everything that you do down here is self-contained and not punishing. You can do it, and it works, and you don't have to use anything from the outside randomly for no reason. So I think it's very good. The cave section is a lot better. The fight also is quite good. Quest fights, I think, are the type that should be very challenging if you are just in your quest gear. That didn't need to happen. If you're just in your quest gear, like, you know, blowpipe or whatever, and then if you, like, happen to die, or you have to telly out, and you, like, re-gear up and do the whole fight, then it shouldn't be that hard. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, if you want a hard fight, then you're going to go bossing. You're not going to just do a quest. DT2 obviously pushed this a little bit with, like, the 4 monsters there, but I think that was fair, and a lot of those also, like, they're not as hard as their post-quest version, so it is something that you could easily do just in your quest gear with 1 or 2 tries. So this section, the fight was good. I think everything in the cave was good, and at the end of the quest, like, you feel like it was good. The like graphics were good for the Majorat, and you even get the, like, post-credits scene if you have done Dragon Slayer 2, so that was very cool, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this quest line. And that brings us to the Tormented Demons. So the Tormented Demons, I think, are great. They learned a lot from what people like and don't like about demonic gorillas. Being that, like, people want to see some animation when the things change instead of just, you know, counting. The drops are going to hold value and they fit thematically. I think the Burning Claws is, like, an interesting use case where, like, it's clearly actually quite good, even though, like, people didn't expect it to be, maybe. And the question is, like, is it too good? But it's quite niche, and it's, like, based on a special effect. It's good, which is always something that, like, ends up being something that's hard to calculate, which I think we need more of. You know, I think when people know exactly how good an item is before it's even released, just because they can calculate the DPS, then that's, you know, not going to be the most interesting item. But when you have to use it for a bit to see how good it is, that's something that I think is a lot more cool. And the Burning Claws definitely fit into that mold. The Tormented Synapse, like, the demonic weapons could use an upgrade, which I think is key, because definitely there's plenty of demons who the Arclight wasn't the best at, or at least one, you know, at Duke. But with the upgrade, I think that's going to be, you know, bringing them more in line with the current DPS levels while not being, like, the best in slot everywhere. And I like the special effects that they added to the bow, and I haven't seen much about the staff, but I guess I'll have to, like, look into that as well. The fight utilizes boosted DPS if you do it right. This is something that is common to a couple different fights. Like, for example, in Leviathan, they have the orb thing that goes around and boost your DPS if you're standing in the orb. And I like stuff like that. I like the way that it rewards playing well and makes it feel like the fight is unique, because like the extra fast hits and big hits that you get here, you're not getting anywhere else. So like if you want to experience that, then you better come to Tormented Demons, which gives it a unique draw beyond just the drops. The fight incentivizes using some unusual weapons, but it doesn't require them, which is good, because we always need more use cases for niche weapons in order to make those niche weapons like actually used in the game. But you know, if someone just wants to come in here and use their you know, let's say Arclight or let's say their SGS, like they're going to be fine to do that. It's not going to totally ruin their day. So I think having weapons that like give something but aren't totally required is a great middle ground to hit. And in terms of the sustain, like you are far from a bank, so you're going to have to bring supplies to use, which is good. And the Tormented Demons don't hit a lot, so if you do it right, you can sustain yourself off of the drops that they drop combined with the supplies that you bring. And this is right where we want to be. I think Demonic Gorillas kind of fit that mold as well, where they drop a little food, they drop a little prayer, you can use your SGS, and you can stay there for pretty much as long as your offensive potions will last, which is good. And, you know, if you really want to, you can, you know, choose to speed it up with more offensive special attacks instead, and probably just do a bit of shorter trips. But as for right now, since it's not instanced, you're going to want to stick around for as long as possible once you got a spot. And that's another thing that I think is very key. This is a non-instance boss, meaning, you know, you don't have every single person able to find a world right away, and that means the drops are going to hold value. Compare that to something like TOA, where you had like 10,000 raids going on at once, and, you know, our drops were really crashing after the first day or two. It really was the first day or two. It was quite crazy, I remember. But here, you know, the Tormented Synapse, even though the drops are made a bit better today, it's still holding above 60 mil. The Bone Claws are still above 10 mil, and that's like something that's quite good for what I would consider a mid-level monster. So overall, no instances is good. The fight itself is good. The drops are good. I think Tormented Demons are a slam hit. And we should have more monsters like this. This is probably also like just kind of looking behind the scenes. I think it's clear that stuff like this is really like old school RuneScape's biggest hits, because everyone can do it, or at least near everyone can do it. Like the mid-level players can do it. It's not just restricted to top level, but the top levels do enjoy it because there's some interesting mechanics. This is really accessible content, and that's where you're going to get the bulk of your engagement numbers, which we know Jagex likes to see. So overall, the lead up to the quest was good. The Tormented Demons are great. The actual quest was pretty mid, especially the parts in the middle. I really think they could have done a lot better. But you know what? It's an old quest. And so I'm feeling an overall a decent to strong 6 on this one. If you liked this episode of me reviewing random updates, if you liked watching me kill Tormented Demons and lose a little bit of health because I'm trying to talk at the same time, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter, where I occasionally share my thoughts on the game and other things. And until next time, this has been the Duck Chris. Peace out.